This is episode 70 of the Why Not Me podcast. Are you really lazy? I'm your host, Danita Bremer. I'm a wife, mom, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and a life coach. And in this podcast, we talk about how to overcome our inner obstacles to endure this life well. I want to start out with sharing a review and just please go and give me some more reviews. This is the last one I have to share with you. Let me know what your favorite takeaway from the podcast is. So, Sarah Shizawa says, I loved your encouragement to go be you and follow the spirit. Guilt and shame are simply a sign we are out of alignment of who we want to be. Thank you for your authentic life experiences and insightful exercises. Thank you, Sarah. That is such an amazing recap of what I teach. It's so true that guilt and shame really are just a little sign that we're out of alignment of who we want to be. It's definitely one amazing way to think about guilt and shame. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about laziness and the word lazy. But do you ever have, or have you ever had an experience where you said something and as you're saying it, or right after you say it, you're like, dang, that was good. I had this experience very recently, and I wanted to share with you my insights about it. But also, I just kind of want to take a tiny little detour here and say, that is why we need to be talking about the things we're learning. We need to meet with other people, mingle with other people, converse, and they will sort of push against our ideas and we will rehash things out and we learn from the very things we ourselves say. I love that. I just love that principle. The word lazy is something that comes up with nearly all of my clients. It is something that I have had to work through myself. It's something that comes up in my family, and it's such a loaded word for most of us, right? I think within a patriarchal, conservative Christian community with high, quote unquote, high work ethic kind of values and sort of a post World War II ideology of like waste not, want not, right? We're taught that work and effort are better than less work and less effort. Even in a recent general conference, we heard the words, the Lord loves effort, right? And I'm not saying that that's not true, but I'm saying that the word lazy is so loaded emotionally for us because of these things that we're taught. But what we don't do, we just kind of take this word lazy at face value, and we don't sit down and slow down and think about our own personal definition of the word lazy or of the word work or of the word effort. So we think effort equals work, work equals, physical labor like gardening or I don't know, going for a run or doing dishes or sweeping the floor or laundry, as moms, I'm guessing because that's who I am, we think of like the domestic labor in our homes, right? These are things that are physically taxing most of the time. My dad, when I was growing up, he worked in a lumber mill, he worked in um oh, a limestone, I don't know, they mine, I guess. They mined limestone. It was physical work. I remember him coming home in the winter and he had these big rubber boots on because it was so cold. And he would take his feet out of the boots and his feet would literally be steaming because because of the drastic difference between how hot his foot was and how cold the air was. Um, so I am not unfamiliar to physical labor. And yes, it is so incredibly effortful and it is work, right? But what about mental effort or spiritual work? They're not like physical works necessarily. And for some of us, these are the kind of things that require more effort, that are actually more work for us. Okay, so for me, and I know for many of you, because you're in a similar boat as me, things like cleaning bathrooms, cleaning the kitchen, doing dishes, those kinds of things are actually kind of easy. Yes, they require some effort, they require some physical exertion, they require time, they require attention, all of that. But I know exactly how to do them. I know what it looks like when the job is quote unquote done. There's a clear delineation between done and not done, right? Either the dishes are all clean or the dishes are not all clean, right? When it comes to mental effort or emotional effort or spiritual effort, it's a little bit of a different story, right? There's not like, oh, like I sat down and I, studied this topic and I'm done. Like there's always more studying to be done, right? That we could do. And here's the most fascinating thing, I think, is that for many of us, for me for sure, and I'm assuming for many of you, rest is often more work, more mental, emotional, spiritual effort than traditional work is, right? Like it's so easy for me to clean the bathroom or to clean the kitchen. Not that I want to do it all the time, but I know how to do it. I've been doing it for a long time. I don't have to think about it. In fact, one of the reasons why I kind of like doing some of these household chores is because I can pop my earbuds in and listen to a podcast or a book or whatever, right? So I can be doing some kind of passive mental work while I'm doing physical work. And of course, then it makes me feel like 2 for 1. I'm so good, right? Like I've earned my value today. The definition of lazy is an unwillingness to work or put forth effort. So, are you truly unwilling to put forth effort? I think the answer for most of us is a big, emphatic no, right? Like, sorry, that is very confusing. Are you unwilling to put forth effort? No, I'm not unwilling to put forth effort. In fact, we probably spend more effort doing things because of all of our judgment about ourselves, because of all the emotions that come up, because of the nervous system responses we have to wade through in order to get those things done, right? We are willing to put forth effort. Therefore, we are not lazy. So if you have someone in your mind, you can hear their voice, you can hear them saying, don't be lazy, stop being lazy, you're just being lazy, whatever it is. Respond back to them just right now in this moment. Respond back to them and say, actually, your definition is off because I am willing to put forth effort. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds of silence here to respond back to that little voice in your head. Okay. I have been doing work and probably more work than is necessary to prove my worth almost my entire life. And you know what's really difficult for me is to slow down and rest. You know what's sometimes difficult for me? To believe. You know what's sometimes really difficult for me? To feel. Now, these are internal things that someone on the outside, they might see me like, say, laying in bed or something, just to use an example. And maybe I'm working on allowing myself to rest. That's hard work for me, you guys. And so it could be if rest is the thing for me that requires more effort, it could be that if I don't do that, then I'm lazy, which I don't even really like to say it that way, but I just want you to like really turn the meaning of the word lazy inside out in your mind. If the definition of lazy is unwilling to put forth effort, and it takes effort to rest or recharge yourself, perhaps you're being lazy if you don't rest, if you don't do the things you like to do just because you like doing them. Because for you, that is the thing that requires more effort. Perhaps it's lazy to not sit down and read. I love reading. In recent years, I keep busy with so many other things that I have to put it on my to-do list for the day. I love it so much and it refuels me and it recharges me and it like excites me. Like God, it gets all my juices going. There's so many reasons why I should be reading more, but it feels like it's not as productive, right? And in some ways it's not. But if I'm trying to give myself more rest, if I'm trying to practice more things that nourish me, then not sitting down to read could be lazy. Perhaps if meditation is fueling to you and you love it, perhaps it's lazy to not meditate, right? If it takes more effort for you to be able to make space and time for that. If going out to your garden and pulling weeds in your garden, if that feels fueling to you and you love it, but it requires effort for you to make space and time for that, perhaps it's lazy if you don't do that. Perhaps it's lazy to not do the art you love, but it always gets pushed down to the bottom of your list, right? Because it requires more effort for you to stop, to slow down, to make space for it. Let's talk about going on a walk. I like this example because physically walking requires physical effort. But if you go on a walk, if you're like, oh, I just really want to go on a walk because it's like something I do for myself and I get to like be with my own thoughts and there's nobody like, pulling at me, mom, 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 but you have a hard time doing that, perhaps it's lazy to not go for a walk because it requires more mental, emotional effort for you. What is it that you do just for you, just because you want to, that requires a little bit more effort? It requires you to slow down and make time to pay attention, those kinds of things. What is that for you? And do you never get to it or rarely get to it because when you do it, you're telling yourself you're lazy for doing it? Perhaps for you, it's lazy not to do that thing. This shift, I think, could be really powerful for a lot of us. I would love to hear what that thing is for you. Go to danitabremmer.com and go to my contact page and just let me know. I would love to hear, what is it that requires some spiritual or emotional or mental effort that you've been telling yourself, if I do that, I'm being lazy, when really maybe not doing it is being lazy. Okay, that's enough for now. And so are you. If this episode made you think about yourself or others or God in a new way, would you please give it a rating and a review? Tell me what your biggest takeaway was and share it with a friend. And if you're ready to overcome your personal inner obstacles and show up to this human experience as your highest self, go to danitabremmer.com to schedule a free session with me. Until next time, go be you and follow the spirit.